So what I'm going to talk to this evening, my portion of the presentation is everyday communication strategies for families and little ones, because it's most important what you are doing with your children every day versus what a therapist is doing if you are seeing a therapist once a week or twice a week. Would you agree? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we're in the school system, so we're going to have some learning. So I put that in here. So what do? We're going to learn strategies that are going to help you best support your children's communication skills. That's why we're here for my section. How are we going to do it? Well, I'm going to explain different ways that I engage kids to build their speech and language skills, which is better off one side. And why? Because you want kids to be able to use their voice every day with the people that are most important to them, which is their families and their parents. All right, let's take on. Okay. So how do little ones learn language best? Well, what do kids do all day, every day? They play, and they have their everyday experiences, like washing their hands, taking a bath, getting their diaper changed, all of those things. They're all language-rich activities. And during those interactions, who are they with? They're with the people who are most familiar to them. Their mom, their dad, their grandma, their caregivers. So they're with them. And when are learning activities the most powerful? Well, when they're functional, it means like they have meaning to them. Means not with flashcards, right? Because how functional is that? It's not. And based on what the child likes to do and what the families like to do. So we put all those together, and that's how we're going to have little ones learn language best. And if anybody has any questions at any time, I'm fine. Raise your hand, let me know. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to create strategies for quality playtime experiences, because we already said that children learn best during what? Play, right? So we have to make sure that that play is high quality. So let's talk about all the kind of different toys that we have, okay? So we have action toys that encourage kids to do something. And I'm sure we all have things in the house that encourage kids to do something. They're stacking, they're opening, they're putting in, they're taking out. They're all the language that I'm using just to describe those toys, right? The next set of toys is the creative toys that help children make something. So they can draw, they can paint, they can create, they can build. One of my favorite things, especially to do with my grandson, is Play-Doh. Okay, Play-Doh is like awesome, right? What can't you do with Play-Doh? The kids absolutely love it. So you can keep it out of their mouths, and there is recipes to make it, you know, that it's not toxic. Not that Play-Doh is toxic anyway, but you just want to make sure. So that's real creative toys. Pretend toys that have a theme. So it's the dress up, it's the doll, it's the garage, all of those things. And then my favorite is the sensory motor toys, because kids always, always, always use their voice more when they're moving, right? And what do little kids do? They are like, they move like they have a motor, right? They're going all day long. So we want toys that they can climb on, ride on, pedal, bounce, jump. And that gets the excitement up, it gets their systems ready to talk, and then they're more willing to communicate. Okay, some more strategies, outdoor toys. You know, we have bubbles, we have chalk, wagons, all the things that we played with as kids outside. And I like to always say, think about how much fun you had with this stuff. And if you had fun with it, your kids are going to have fun with it. Educational toys. This one I'm kind of like, I had to put it in there because it's out there on the market a lot. But if I had to say things that I'm less interested in are those educational toys with early academic concepts and letters and numbers. Because for the little ones, that's not going to give you powerful language. And we'll talk about that later. And then parent toys based on movies or cartoons, we have all those. But we have to be careful so that kids don't get stuck on one of those play schemes. So we want to be able to change it up. It's okay to have a preference, but not that the only thing I play with is constant, because that will language. Okay, really important to limit screen time as much as possible, and I know it's survival, right? We all need a break every once in a while, but we need to use the screens. But I would say just be conscious about that, because screen time is a one-way communication. It's really not communication. The information is coming one way, right? The information is coming from the screen to the child, but what is communication? It's reciprocal, back and forth. It's two ways. So the information is coming in, but then your child doesn't necessarily have to communicate that. So that's why we kind of limit that. The American Academy of Pediatrics say under the age of 2, 0 hours, I don't think that that's reasonable, that's just me. But just be mindful and limit it as much as you can. Offer fewer toy options at a time. How many of you have a lot of toys in the house? Your kid walk around like, I don't want that, I don't want that, they pick it up, they drop it, they pick it up and drop it, right? Because there's just so many things to play with that they don't know what to focus on. So maybe giving children a smaller amount of toys at one time is better. And this one, keep toys and all their pieces together. Nothing worse than, let's play puzzles. Okay. Where are the pieces? Right there, not there. So I find that using like a Ziploc bag is a good idea. Lingerie bags, because they're nice and big, so you can put like the frame in and you can put the puzzles in as well. So try to keep those all together. Okay, so we need to be talking about high quality toys, and what are they? Well, kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is we want toys that encourage active play, active movement, instead of just the child being a passive observer, so just coming in. It's just not ideal for them. We want toys that are open-ended. I always tell my families that you can think of a toy that you can use in 3 different ways, keep it. If you can't use it in 3 different ways, pitch it. Because we want to be able to have those open-ended activities. So you think about it, tunnels, open-ended, in, out, roll, on top, all those things. Tents, hula hoops, balls. And who didn't love this when you were kids, right? We all love that stuff. Play food, dress up. Toy vehicles without batteries. Any idea why I put without batteries? Any thoughts?
So you make the sounds themselves?
Perfect, absolutely, absolutely. Because the more a toy does, the less a child does. So when we think about the toys that are out there, are they really doing anything? Or just does the child have to act on it? The child has to act on it. So, you know, I would say try to be mindful of all of that wonderful marketing that gives you the toys that have the bells and the whistles and the blinks and the letters and the numbers and all that kind of stuff, because that toy is doing everything, and you're not really having an opportunity for your child to act on that. And this goes back to what we were talking about before. We want to follow a child's lead, but we don't want them to get stuck on one particular thing. I have some kids, like, they love their Paw Patrol to the exclusion of everything else. So the parents get them everything with Paw Patrol, which is okay, but then what about everything else when it's their development? Okay, more tips for choosing high quality toys. Do all toys have to come from a store? When you guys were growing up, did you have all your toys come from a store? No, drives me crazy. I'll get my grandson something in a lovely box. He's not interested in what came in the box. He's interested in the box, right? So that's wonderful. So you can use those kind of things. Pots and pans and wooden spoons make great drums. You don't have to go out and get, drums. You can do that. Turkey baster and a sponge in a bathtub. You can work on your fine motor skills, all of the water, empty cardboard boxes and pipes and tubs and tissue boxes. You can stack those. You can put things in and out of those. A laundry basket is great. You can drag kids around in that. They can be talking about stop and go. They're working on their motor skills, getting in, getting out. Laundry baskets are awesome. You can work on your independent skills with sweeping, wiping the table. And once again, I want you to kind of keep in mind, the high-tech toys steal the learning opportunities. We need to keep in mind that we want to give children opportunities to learn, just not sit there with a cause-effect toy and push the button to hear what comes out. Okay? The more often kids use their own minds and bodies, the more communication because they're moving around. And then once again, you see I'm kind of on a soapbox here. Limit toys that force those academic skills. Under the age of 3, I'm really not concerned about colors, numbers, and shapes. If it kind of comes up in general, that's fine. But to sit there and kind of drill that, not necessarily in the best interest of kids. Okay, so now you have all these wonderful things that you get. Okay, you have your toys, you have your things, that was around the house. I actually wanted to share this with you. It's a book called Retro Baby, and it's ways to play with your kids without having any props, any toys, or the things that we kind of grew up there. Okay, so it's from 0 to 24 months. It's an excellent, excellent breed, retro baby. So I would say if you can get that from the library, that would be wonderful. Okay, so we have all of our wonderful books, and we have all of our ideas for how we're going to have our kids move and groove and do all that stuff. Okay, let's talk about the different strategies. The first thing we want to do is we want to reduce distractions. And we want to reduce distractions, not only for the kids, but guess for who else? All of us. Because we're living in that age of social media and just being on your phone all the time. And if you can put your phone down for even 10 minutes a day and interact with your child, you would be amazed at the changes that you're going to see. So we want to have the distractions off, the TV off, and maybe not have us on our tablet or on our phone. Get down on the floor and play. I'm still doing it at 62. Probably why I'm still doing it, because I can get up and down off the floor. But having the kids on the floor and being on their level is everything. Because when you're on their level, you're showing them interest, and you're also giving them all of those wonderful facial cues when you're learning how to communicate. And there's a whole different way of looking at things. Like if I'm talking to you and I'm up here, what are you seeing, right? Versus if I'm down here. So it's much better to kind of get down on the level, or you can invite them up on the couch or up on the chair with you, or you can put them on the couch or the chair and you can sit on the floor, but you want to get it so that you're kind of as face-to-face as possible. Another wonderful way is getting face-to-face, tummy-to-tummy on the floor. That's another great way to do it too. Don't be shy about making all these crazy sounds. This is why when I go home at the end of the day, I'm just like, I'm done. Because all day long, I've been making animal sounds, vehicle sounds, other silly sounds during playtime. And what kid doesn't love that, right? They just eat it right up. And that's what we want. We want that engagement. This is really important. We want to be sure that we are our child's play partner and not their play director. We want to do what they find interesting, not what we want them to do. Because as parents, what can we get our kids to do? Nothing, right? Can't make them eat, can't make them sleep, can't make them go to the bathroom when you want. So you may as well just give in now and follow their lead. It's kind of like if someone says, and I am not a golfer, but yeah, we're gonna watch golf. And I'm like, snore. I don't want to do that. It's the same thing with the kids. We want to do things that they want to do. Because adult-directed activities can feel like work. And who wants to work when you're a kid, right? You want to have fun. You want to be engaging in things that you enjoy. And then you also want to talk about what your child is doing, seeing, and hearing. So you're just going to be talking about, oh, you're bouncing the ball. I see a blue ball. Let's stand up. All you're doing is narrating what you are seeing them doing, seeing, and hearing, and that's all wonderful language in. So, I don't think that we have this out right now. Tammy's printing some things. But here are some specific strategies. So number one, avoid asking too many questions. Okay? I always say to myself, all right, if I have a child that's having a difficult time communicating, I think about myself while in college. I don't math, right? Math and I just don't get along. So if I'm in a math class and someone is going to be peppering me with math questions and I don't have the words to answer those questions, how do you think I'm going to feel? Am I going to be comfortable to try to answer all of those questions, or am I probably going to turn and walk the other way and do something else, right? That's exactly it. Life is not a quiz. Problem is, as adults, how do we keep our conversations going with each other? We ask questions, right? But here's the thing, we already have the vocabulary. We already have the words. When the children don't have the words, we need to teach them what those words are before we can start asking questions. Okay. You want to be fun, animated voice when you're playing with your child. So once again, it's what I do all day, every day, and as parents, it would be wonderful that you're in it, and yay, and we're doing this, and look at that dog, and versus monotone. Who wants to be around a person that's monotone? Nobody. So that's really important. We want children to steal language from us, so we call that child speak. For example, I was in a session today, and a little guy wasn't necessarily communicating, and he would point, and the mother would say, "Do you want a bite?" We all do that, right? We all ask. So there's that question, right? First of all, okay? So do you want a bite? And we're modeling what we want kids to imitate from us. So first of all, what are the chances of your child saying, "Do you want a bite?" Not good. And if they did, and they came up to you and they said, "Do you want a bite?" Well, then you're like, "Well, that's weird." We don't want them saying that. We want to give them the words we would like them to say. So what would be something if a child went and pointed, and instead of saying, "Do you want a bite?" if you're using child speak, which is a word that you would expect a child your age to say to communicate that request, what would you say? What do you think?
Hungry.
Perfect. Hungry, bite, eat, cookie. Perfect. Absolutely, absolutely. We want to follow your child's lead by finding things he or she finds interesting. We talked about that before. Once again, my soapbox, don't worry about the letters, numbers, shapes, and colors. I'll give you an example of that later. And you know what, I'm going to do it just because I feel like it. So if we're focusing on letters, numbers, colors, and shapes, because that's what we kind of think about academically, right? Our kids need to know that. All right, so let's say you're really good at all of those, right? You know all of your letters, numbers, colors, and shapes. You got them down pat. You're driving down the road, get a flat tire. You have to call on your phone. Okay, so you need assistance. You know your letters, numbers, colors, and shapes. What are you going to say on that phone? That's it. That's it. You don't have help. You don't have "I'm stuck." Yeah, black circle, and they're going to go, "What is with this guy?" Right? So you need all of that powerful content language. We'll talk about that later. And we talked about playing last night. So okay, learning to imitate is key. How do we all learn everything in life? Imitate, right? We imitate what other people do. Imitation is about taking turns, right? What's conversation? Kind of went back to the why we don't want the screens in front of us all the time. It's back and forth, right? We want that back and forth, so that's why imitation is important. Developmentally, kids imitate what we do before they say what we say. So you can kind of take a look at this one. It's by Laura Mize. She's also on YouTube, which is one of the videos. But it's verbal imitation in toddlers. And as we see, there are 8 different levels of building verbal imitation. Who knew that if we want kids to start using words, we have to start having them imitate actions with objects, right? It's that back and forth. We're not going to work on this, right? Next step is I wave, you wave, it's communicative gestures. Next one is doing things with your face and your mouth, so you're getting them closer in here. So these are all wonderful things that you could do, like when you're brushing teeth, things like that. But there's no words there, right? No words in level 1, no words in level 2, no words in level 3. Then we're kind of getting closer to it. Vocalizations in play, but really easy things like fake coughing, fake crying, like snorting like a pig. Kids love that, growling, quiet. Then we have the exclamatory words. But we have the words that we want our kids to say yet? Absolutely not. You need to be able to walk before you run, crawl before you walk. And that's what this is. Exclamatory words, you see how easy those are? Yay, icky, wow, those kind of things. Uh-oh, yeah. How many times do things fall down in your house? All day, every day, right? High frequency work. Uh-oh. And then we want to have speech and verbal routines, so things that they can anticipate. The wheels on the bus go round and they might do that. Then functional words is level 7. Anybody ever think that getting kids to say words is all the way at 7? That's complicated, right? So we want to make sure that we're getting all of those different things in there. those different levels, and then we're working on short phrases. We want to be able to interact with fun and playful when we're teaching imitation skills. Just nothing more fun than imitating mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or nana when they're doing something silly. Like when you're acting the fool, kids love it. Kids love it. And once again, get down with it and play face to face with them. Okay. So this just kind of goes over the verbal imitation skills. So that's where that came from. So you have the handout on that. And then I believe that this was just handed out to you. So it's real specific instructions on strategies to support early language development. So number one, obtain your child's attention. If they're spinning around and you're doing something else and you're talking to them, are they taking that in? No. You have to kind of get in their world. Reduce distractions. We talked about that before, right? Distractions for you and distractions for kids. Pair gestures with words. If kids are working on words, we want to give them a way to communicate first before the words come in. So, for example, if I was going to say, who can give me a gesture for I don't know? What would be a gesture for I don't know? What would you do? Yeah, I don't know. What would be a gesture for wow? Yeah, wow. You know, those kind of things, right? So putting those gestures in is a way for kids to be able to imitate those gestures while they're working on the words. Build your child's vocabulary. When you first came in, we were talking about all of the different routines that happen during the day, right? Mealtime, bath time, diapering, outside time. Think about all the vocabulary that you can be narrating and talking to your kids about while you're doing those different activities. Self-talk and parallel talk. Self-talk is talking about what you are doing. So you could be, oh, mommy's making coffee, daddy's making whatever. Parallel talk, you're talking about what the child is doing. So you're giving both of those models. And you want to simplify your language. You don't want to say something that's really long, because for little ones, who remembers, I might be dating myself, Charlie Brown and Charlie Brown's teacher? Remember that? Okay. Yeah, and I swear, I think that's what kids hear when we talk to them too much. They're hearing the teacher, wah, 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 cookie, wah, 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 right? So you want to make sure that you're simplifying your language there.
If they're not saying anything, you shouldn't be saying talking in more than 2 words.
Absolutely, absolutely. You want to meet them at their level. Thank you. So this is also in your handout. We don't want to anticipate needs, because if we are anticipating what our kids need all the time, what is their motivation for communication? None. Exactly. So we want a good answer. We want to do things like that. One of my favorite things, give them a cup and don't put any juice in it. Well, you'll get a reaction, right? Or eat a cookie in front of them and don't give them one. Oh my. Right, all of a sudden, we got a problem here, right? So don't anticipate. Don't say, tell me, or use your words, because that's a prompt. You are actually instructing your child what you want them to do. And if you want to have them directly imitate what you're saying, and you say dog, chances are they can come back to you and say dog, and then you go, no. That's not what I wanted. Or the other ever popular, can you say mama? That's a yes/no question. So if they don't say anything, did they answer your question? They sure did. They said no. So you just shot yourself in the foot. Instead of just going, mama, you want to be thoughtful about the questions that you ask. You want to make sure that you're not just asking yes or no questions. Because if you're asking yes or no questions, what kind of response are we going to get? Yes or no response. Exactly. You're not going to be getting built vocabulary at all. So here's a change with that. Do you want a banana? And they either say yes or no, or whatever, right? Versus if you have a banana and you have an apple, and you go, banana, want an apple. Does yes or no work there? Nope. they have to do something to try to get that. So even if they don't say it and they're reaching for it, that's when we can work on repeat and expand. So if they don't say anything, after you wait 3 seconds, so you'll say apple or banana, they say no. And then you say, well, apple or banana, give it to them again. They reach for the apple. And you say, oh, apple. I just heard apple 2 times. Then I might wait another 3 seconds. 3 seconds is an eternity for kids to wait when you think about 3 seconds, right? Then you give them the apple, and you go, oh, apple. And then, oh, that apple is so good. 4 times. Versus a child coming up, apple or banana, do you want an apple? So you see how all of those language opportunities were not offered there, just simply by asking a yes or no question. So we talked about repeating and expanding, so whatever they say, if they don't say anything, you give them the word. If they say something, you repeat it and you expand it. So if they say you go, oh, apple. If they say apple, you say, want an apple. You're always being one up. Okay? Because if you just repeat what they're saying or let them not say anything, you're not getting it. So repeat and expand. The 3 to 5 seconds you want to be able to wait to give them that opportunity to what we talked about before. Imitate. So we're constantly saying, you want an apple? You want the apple? Here's the apple. Here's the apple. Here, apple. They don't have the time to imitate that. It kind of reminds me of, remember the days of dial-up on the computer? Okay, whatever that noise was, right? And we would get frustrated, and then you would reset it, and it was just about to come up. What did you do? You kicked yourself all the way back. So just waiting those 3 to 5 seconds oftentimes gives the children the time to process it and come up with how they want to try to imitate. And then we talked about before varying the gestures to the signs of the word. So we have some means of functional communication while words are coming down. Okay, sign language. Awesome. There's always been a big push for baby signs, and I think that that's wonderful. I always tell parents it's important to know that we are not trying to teach your children to be proficient signers. No. What we're trying to do is build a bridge and teach children something they can use in the interim of when they can use words. Because kids can use their hands, that's bigger muscles, less complicated motor skills than using your hands. So for example, if we want a child to say apple, and they're not saying, oh, apple cake, I must be hungry. You know, apple is this. So would we rather have them go, or do this? We'd rather have them do that, right? And then when they do that, well, then you repeat and expand. So they do this, and now you say, oh, apple. So you're giving them those words. Because kids communicate in many ways. Signs I've seen time and time again. Reduce frustration. Isn't that everything for our kids when they're having challenges communicating? We just don't want them to be so frustrated. So if we give them a way, their frustration is going to decrease, and it's going to strengthen your bond because it's that reciprocal. It's that important. Okay.
You can start with the easy ones, the ones that look like the object, like this is banana, looks like you're peeling it. Those are easy for your child to remember.
Absolutely.
They're
called iconic signs. So that's banana. I actually had to look this one up because I said, good Lord, what is this? This is cracker. I'm like, where'd that come from? Right? What is that? Well, that was cracking the wheat to make the flour. I'm like, oh, we gotta come up with a better stuff because that just doesn't make any sense to me. And you can make a note for yourself. There's a wonderful app that you can get on your phone, and it's called ASL Pocket Sign. And it's great because you can type in the word that you want, and it automatically pulls up what the sign is. And it's just not like, like from when I was learning sign when the dinosaurs were on the earth and schooling, it was just like the pictures of the sign. You can get 3D that way? Oh, I have no idea. And they had arrows, and I'm like, what the heck? Where are these arrows going? But when you're on the app, they actually show you the the different positions. Yeah, so it's video. And the other thing that I like about it is then there's a quiz section, so then they'll give you a sign and they'll say, what sign is this? So it kind of goes back and forth. So ASL pocket sign, it's fantastic. Signs may not always be made the right way, because sometimes they're complicated. Like, for example, the sign for help is one hand helping another. Don't ask them. So that's the way I look at it. If kids will do this, I'm over the moon, right? Because it's two-handed, it's easier, it's bilateral, so that works. And we're going to use the simplified sign. So that's just another example. We're not going to get crazy about this. If they do that, okay, you can give gentle hand-over-hand assistance to kind of give them an idea. I'm really big into bodily autonomy, as we all should be, so I don't want to be manhandling kids, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to, unless you have to, give them just a little gentle shoe. You want to fade the sign once your child starts the same approximation. So if we're doing, like Jody's example, wonderful, we're doing banana, and the kid starts going, nah, and you go, yeah, banana. So you're going to give it to them, but then you're going to give the word, and you're going to start to try to fade that sign out. So initially, kid's going to use the sign by itself, then the sound, like nah, paired with the sign, then a sign paired with the word, then they're going to use it equally, and then your child will drop the sign, because human beings are inherently lazy, aren't we? I'll say I'm lazy, sure. So if I have to do this all the time when I say banana, or I can just say banana, why in the world would I do this, right? You don't have to. So it automatically fades out. So I always tell my families, don't worry, the sign won't stick around once the words come out. And we want to teach functional signs, right? And not the vague signs. We'll talk about that. I want a t-shirt that says this. Please, no, please, and no more. Why do you think? They're very vague, right? So we teach our kids more and please, and what can they use that for? Everything in the universe. More cookie, more banana, more truck, more bath. They're not learning those powerful words. Same thing with please, nothing cuter than a kid doing please, but it's the same thing. Please apple, please cookie, please go outside. Doesn't work. More bubbles, so you want to teach the word bubbles and not necessarily more. So you want those specific words, and you can teach those secondary words. So if they say banana, banana, oh yeah, more banana. Teach it as a second word, not primary. We have kids that use words for three primary reasons: to communicate their wants and needs, a list of things, to socialize and interact with each other, and to seek and share knowledge. So these are called pragmatics or social functions of language. So it's just not all nouns. Because if we're just doing nouns, are we getting all of this stuff in there? No, we need to be teaching all of these things. So here's an example. We've got power words, the wants and needs, kids, all that stuff. The concept words, the early academic words, and are we going to really focus on that a lot? No, if it shows up, it shows up, but we're not going to focus on that. And then social words, the high, right, please. We're not going to focus on the colors, the colors, numbers, shapes, and letters, because we don't want to drive down the road and say black circle, right? So that just kind of pulls that all together. And I'm going to lead into Jody's here. A lot of times people will say, hey, what's a good app? Especially for reading, right? What's a great app? I go, nothing, personally, because there's no app that's ever going to replace parents' app. For reading, for playing. Why? Because you are giving your full attention to your child when you're reading with them, when you're playing with them. And there's nothing better to the child in the world than to have mom and dad's attention all to themselves. You can fill a small basket with your child's favorite books. You see the way Jody has all of her books in baskets, so she's modeling that. Set up a regular time to read to your child every day. We're so busy. We are so busy. But even 5 minutes at night, one-on-one with your child, is incredibly powerful. We want to be face-to-face during story time, And can you snuggle snuggle your child in your arms? Sure, that's wonderful. But if we're talking about trying to teach words and communication, well then it's the things like reading tummy to tummy, getting on the floor, putting them on the rocking chair in your bedroom, in their bedroom, you sitting on the floor, right? You want to try to get that face to face. And you don't always have to read the vocabulary. How many times you're reading your child a book and you're trying to read the words, how does that work for you usually? Depending on the age of the child. Not great, right? They want to go forward, they want to go back, they want to look at the same pages, and that's all wonderful. It's about the exchange, it's about the reciprocity, it's about okay. So thank you for your attention. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, we can ask them at the end. I'm going to hand it over to Jody.
I'm Jody McNary, and I'm also a Berkeley kindergarten speech language pathologist, but I work with 3 to 5-year-olds. I'm so glad you all could come tonight. I'm going to be teaching you some read with me strategies. So when you're reading with your kids, some things that you can do to make reading interactive. And what this is going to do, it's going to develop a love for reading, and it's going to make you guys enjoy reading with your kids more too. So children read by being read. Children read by reading with you, and they keep reading because they learn to love to read. You guys are your child's first educators, so you guys have some responsibility to teach your kids to love to read and before they get to school. It's going to build their listening, their talking skills, and most importantly, they're just going to love to read. So listening and talking, those are at the bottom of the hierarchy. Those are most important things that your children do. You'll get to reading and writing later. So there's different stages of reading. The first 6 are the ones that you need to do at home before they even start reading instruction. So learning to love books, enjoying the meaning of books, learning how books work, discovering that print has a meaning. So let them watch you make a grocery list so they know, and you can say the words out loud so they know that what you're thinking can be written down. Memorizing books, rehearsing books, they'll get to all that other stuff as they start school. We want to make reading fun. One way to do that is not to put them on the spot when you're reading. So we don't want to ask factual questions. We don't want to say like, what color is this? What's that? What's that? But ask questions more like, wonder what will happen next. We want them to participate while we're doing these strategies, but they don't have to. We don't want to pressure them. They'll chime in when they're feeling comfortable. So I'm going to demonstrate echo reading first. And that's really easy to do, and I think it would be best if I just explained it by reading to you. So I'm going to read I Went Walking. This is one of my favorite books. It's by Sue Williams. With this book, you've got this book in your file. You can actually use echo reading, friendly questions, and predicting. I went walking. Oh, I forgot to tell you what we're going to do here. Echo reading means you guys are going to echo me. You're going to copy me. So I'm going to say it, then you're going to say it. There's going to be some participation tonight.
Don't leave me
hanging.
hanging.
Don't leave me Sharon will lead you, and you copy Sharon. Okay. I went walking.
I went walking.
What did you see?
What did you see?
I see something sticking out of that basket. I wonder what it could be.
And you hear how Jody and I are using the inflection, the intonation, that excitement when we're repeating that. Let's see if we can practice that as well.
I saw a black cat looking at me.
I saw a black cat looking at me.
Very good. I went walking.
I went walking.
What did you see?
What did you see?
Ooh, I wonder what that could be. And whatever your child says, you accept that. Because this is just a prediction. We don't know what it is. I saw a brown horse looking at me.
I saw a brown horse looking at me.
These books are big, but as you're reading, it's good to make your finger go under the words. I went walking.
I went walking.
What did you see?
What did you see?
Oh, I wonder what that is. And if you have a child who's not talking yet, you could model the signs. So you could say, I went walking. And then you guys can say it and model it. I went walking. What did you see? So I'm going to stop there, but this is a really cute book and you'll enjoy reading that with your child. The next one is Dinosaur Roar. And this is a great one to read with your children who aren't able to imitate longer phrases and sentences because it only has 2 words that they're going to imitate. It has rich vocabulary and catchy text. Dinosaur Roar. And what I often do, which I skipped, before you read a book, talk about the picture on the cover. Oh, I wonder what this book's about. Oh, you think he's fierce or nice? I wonder.
And if somebody downloaded ASL Pocket Sign already, want to know what the sign for dinosaur is.
Oh, that's what I know.
Yep, so you can look it up. So it's just an example of while you're reading the book and you're looking for vocabulary, look up.
Dinosaur roar.
Dinosaur roar.
Dinosaur squeak.
Dinosaur squeak.
Dinosaur fierce.
Dinosaur fierce.
Dinosaur meek.
Dinosaur meek.
Dinosaur fast.
Dinosaur fast.
Dinosaur slow.
I love the intonation, friends.
Dinosaur above.
Dinosaur above.
And dinosaur below.
Dinosaur below.
I wonder how he feels. He looks squished and smushed. So you get the idea with that. I'm not going to read this one, but I love this book. It's called Bears and Pears, and it will be on the expanded reading list. I believe it's also on one of your handouts. This is great. It has some unusual opposites, and all the bear pairs end up in a party at the end of the book. On a tea party. The next strategy is going to be paired reading. And for paired reading, you look for books that have only a few books or lessons. Oh no. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate this one too. You guys have to get it out too. You can read this later. I'm just going to talk while I read. So paired reading is when you read the first part, and then you pause, and then your child can fill in the blank. But they're not going to be able to do this until you read the book about 5 times. Because they need to know the words first. And they might be able to supply a sign if they can't talk. And you can model those signs. Oh, let me go back. So this is a really silly book, and it really holds kids' attention.
And the sillier you can be when you read it,
Yes. I get a lot of participation out of this class from the kids. Silly Sally went to town, walking backwards, upside down. So eventually, after they hear it, they'll be able to do that. Silly Sally went to town, dancing backwards, upside down. Oh, it looks like she's coming up to a little house. I wonder who's in there. So you're modeling open-ended questions.
Instead of what's that puts pressure on
On the way, she met a dog, a silly dog. They played leap. Oh. She's doing well spontaneously. We didn't practice this. Silly Sally went to leaping backwards, upside down. So she meets a bunch of different animals and they do really silly things. We end up dancing and upside down and hopping upside down.
And that's a great book, because we want to make sure that when we're modeling language, it's just not all nouns. We talked about that before. Because if we want to start children learning to put two words together, can we put two names together? Not easily, right? So we have to have a noun and an action word. We need to have a modifier word and a noun. So all of these books are great for being able to model all of those different types of speech.
You're taking this one home in a board book form. This one is great for bedtime. You can read it in a soothing voice. Time for Bed by Mem Fox. You can follow along with the book that you have. Time for bed. Little mouse, little mouse. Darkness is falling all over the house. It's time for bed, little goose, little goose.
I don't know, you know,
The stars are out and on the loose. It's time for bed, little cat, to snuggle in tight. That's right, like it's time for bed, little cat. What happened today that made you laugh? So you can finish that one with your child as well. Some other good books for paired reading. Raise your hand if you have this one at your house. So this is a real common one. Brown bear, what do you see? I see a
something or other.
Oh, very good. Oh, it's a red bird. Red bird. Looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. I'm not letting her help me, am I? Yellow duck, yellow duck, what do you see? I see a blue horse looking at me. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's so cute. And my kids were able to memorize this and read it to me all by themselves. They weren't reading the words, they just had it memorized. But then eventually, when children memorize books, then they start to realize, oh, well, that word must be the one I'm saying. And so then they're able to read that. 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. Since most kids know the little rhyme, that's an easy one to fill in some words with. And we're going to, again, send you an expanded book list. That will give you some more books. And you can look and see if any of the books that are on the list are ones that you own. And if not, you can go to the library with your list. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Is Your Mama a Llama? And we are going to, oh, I forgot not order. First, we're doing this one. We are going to do, oh, wait a minute. Rosie's Walk. This is a really great one. This is paired reading as well. Friendly questions, predicting. The fox is trying to get Rosie, and There's great predicting in this book. I'm going fast because we have limited time. Yeah, with this one. So we're going to do friendly questions. That's another strategy. And I already talked to you about not using scary questions, but open-ended questions. And you guys are going to help me think of some open-ended questions. You have some Post-it notes. And I want you to get some Post-it notes ready. And you have this book. So you can put some Post-it notes in with some possible open-ended questions that you would ask while you're reading. You go ahead and just write them in, and then it'll help you to remember when you're reading to your child. And just slap the Post-it note on the page. So in this book, the story is in the pictures. Do you all have the Post-it notes? I think so. Okay. The story's in the pictures. And I'm going to model some open-ended questions that I'm going to get you guys to give me some too. So there's a little squirrel and she's carrying a present and it looks like she's going over here where all the houses are. I'm going to sing this song. It's really a folk song. I'm not singing it that way. I'm just going to sing it in a way that children can know the tune. And you're all going to help me sing. What's neat about this book is she's wearing her red dress and the box is in red too. So your child will be able to memorize this book because they can, once they learn their colors, they can see the colors right. Mary wore her red dress, red dress, red dress. Mary wore her red dress all day long. So, we're asking open-ended questions because we want to encourage longer verbalizations and more complex language. I wonder why Mary's all dressed up. She has a box on her head. I wonder where she's going. Henry wore his green sneakers, green sneakers, green sneakers. You gotta help him, lose my voice. Henry wore his green sneakers all day long.
That was a famous speech now.
Oh, look, Henry has a box here. I wonder could it be a present? What would fit in that box? It's like a cylinder. One of my children told me, one of my students said, sliced tomatoes. I thought that was so cute. That's what he guessed. Katie wore her yellow sweater, yellow sweater, yellow sweater. Katie wore her yellow sweater all day long. It looks like they're going to a maybe this is the birthday girl, Katie. Looks like they're going to have fun with her peg. I'm going to stop singing, but we're going to look at the pictures and look how the story is told in the pictures. Oh, we found out what Henry gave her in that cylinder package. Oh, bling, the snakes, they popped out. What do you think? How do you think Mary felt when the snakes sprung out?
And there we go, you can give the gesture there. Surprise! You're scared.
Would you want to get a present like that?
No.
I think I would. I would want to play tricks with other people. And then here, Amanda, who wears the brown bandana, is near the pond. So you can talk about, wonder what the mom is thinking. Or what do you think she's saying? Stop! We can talk about how she's playing a game, and it looks like she might fall in love. got her. Can you find that? Can you find her? She's wearing a brown bandana. There she is. So what happened to her? Can you tell from the picture? I wonder what happened. She's got a lily pad and a flower stuck to her, and I see drips. So your child might say something like that. You could, what would be an open-ended question that you could ask about this picture? You can start with I wonder if you want. This one I keep going to. Sharon, you have an idea? What picture are you looking at this one? Think of an open-ended question.
Yeah, I think I can. I wonder why she has drips on her dress.
You can write some open-ended questions in your book with your Post-it notes. Now I'm going to stop there, and you guys can enjoy this book when you get home. You're going to praise all of their attempts at predicting. All right, so this is another one for predicting. Is Your Mama a Llama? Again, I said it was one of my favorites. What's cool about this book is you can predict from the illustrations, the auditory clues, and the rhyming words if your child knows how to rhyme. You'll see what I mean. Is your mama a llama? I asked my friend Jody. No, she is not, is the answer Dave gave. She hangs by her feet and she lives in a cave. I do not believe that's how llamas behave. Oh, I said, you are right about that. I think that your mama sounds more like a cat. Is your mama a llama? I asked my friend Fred. No, she is not, is what Freddie said. She has a long neck and white feathers and wings. I don't think a llama has all of those things. If I were to have read this 5 times already, I would be doing this. Wings, things, rhyming words. And kids hear that enough, they learn how to rhyme. Oh, I said, you don't need to go on. I think that your mama must be a duck. Kids will do that all the time. It is a bird that can go in the water. On swan, rhyming words. So you want to praise your children, whatever they say, you can say, that's a great idea, what a good guess. I wish I had thought of that. I think I'm going to stop there. But I had 2 more strategies. Maybe we'll do those another night. Wordless books.
Good time.
Yeah. Then we have to be vacated at 7:30. Oh, let me keep going. Okay, so wordless books, and I love the Carl books. Has anyone seen the Carl books by Alexandra Day? She has a whole bunch of them. The dog takes care of the baby. But what's cool about wordless books is your child can tell you the story by looking at the pictures. And if you have younger children who want to read to an even younger child, they don't have to read to be able to read these books because there's only very few words, usually at the beginning and the end. You can get your children to tell you the story by looking at the pictures, and you can write down what they say. So wordless books are great because they learn that what they say can be written and what is written can be read. they're just such great illustrations in these Alexander Day books. Another word in this book is Goodnight Gorilla, and there are some words in Goodnight Gorilla, but they're very minimal. And basically, the gorilla is too smart for his own good. I went too far. Going back. So this is repeated throughout the book, so your kids can say it with you. Good night, gorilla.
Good night, gorilla.
Oh, and then you can model open-ended questions or predicting. What do you think he's going to do?
Steal the keys.
Oh, he let himself out. Do you think the zookeeper knows that he's behind him?
Bad monkey.
I don't think he knows. Good night, elephant. I wonder what he's going to do now. Any ideas?
Get in trouble.
So the gorilla lets all the animals out. All the animals are following the zookeeper, and then we get to the page where she's got her eyes closed. She says, "Good night, dear," and then all the animals, of course, respond. Good night, good night, good night, good night. And then turn the page, and I wonder whose eyes those are. Any guesses?
The gorilla.
The zookeeper's wife. She didn't know she was sharing a bed with all these animals. So she takes them all back to the zoo. It's quite a cute book. And your child, again, could tell you the story and you could write it down on a Post-it note. Reader's Theater. So Reader's Theater is a way to act out stories. And it engages more than eyes and ears. Sometimes with the stories you use props and sometimes you do not. For this book you don't need any props. You will see why. Clap your hands. You guys can do it with us. Stomp your feet. You have to model with your kids because they won't do it if you just say. Shake your arms. Then take a seat. So the focus is on the pleasure of the story. With more than just eyes and ears. It's quite cute. And stuff. And some other Reader's Theater books are Eric Carle from Head to Toe. I'm a penguin. I can turn my head. Can you do it? And then your child can say, I can do it. And then pretends to be the penguin. So the I can do it is a repetitive word in all of these. So again, this one you don't need any props either. Just move with the animals. The mitten is prediction, but also Reader's Theater. For the mitten, does anyone have any Jan Brett books at home? Jan Brett wrote the mitten. She has written so many books, and she has a certain style where she uses the side panels as prediction. So in the mitten, it tells you what happened before this scene, and then what's going to happen next. So it's great for prediction with those visual cues. You can make this book readers theater by using a prop. On her website, there's actually one that you can print out for free and just staple it together, and it has the pictures inside. This is a different one, but you can retell the story. The animals all crawl in the mitten and get cozy. He wants to have white mittens, and his Baba is afraid that she's going to lose them in the snow. But when he insists, she makes them anyway. He lost one in the snow, and then a mole is coming. I wonder what the mole is going to do. Look, there's the mitten that fell from the tree. So the mitten crawls in there. It's all cozy. And then the rabbit comes along. And the mole says, it's so cozy in here. Stop, stop. So if you have a child working on S-blends, like Molly, then you can have her say, stop, stop. We're being squished and smushed. So all the animals crawl in. And then in the end, and it stretches and stretches and expands and expands. And in the end, a little mouse goes up on the bear's nose, and the bear goes, achoo! And then all the pictures fall out, typically. So I'm not shaking it hard enough. I get words to fall out. And then they can retell the story and talk about the order. They can look at the picture and they can say, the hedgehog went in the mitten. The fox went in the mitten. To make it dramatic, take active. Yes. That's all of the books.
What's her name again?
The author is Jan Brett. You can go to the library and ask the librarian to show you the Jan Brett section. And she will show you so many books. And they all have that side panel with the prediction, with what came before.
No, I pushed all before.
Oh, you did? Yeah. I was just going to say. So we want you to join the literacy club. And your children are going to eventually learn how to read, but it is so much more fun to be able to enjoy the experience with them and teach them all of these things. You can teach them the phonological awareness before they get to school by teaching them rhyming, like when I said, bears, pears, rhyming words. That's important. Doing this is going to speed them along to social and academic success. So we've talked about all these things you should do. Talk, 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 read, 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 and demonstrate literacy. Let your kids see you reading. We don't have newspapers anymore, but however you read, let them see you reading. Things we shouldn't do. You don't need to correct them. If they don't say something correct, you just accept everything that they say. We build responsibility by taking them to the library and letting them get a library card. They can have their own library bag.
The library will be at the resource fair.
Oh, cool.
Just saying.
And it's okay if they don't love every book. You just skip to the next one. You don't need phonics books, tapes, apps, or any drill-based phonics materials. Again, there's no app for your life. Just read with your child.